All right, ladies, my name is Kimberly and I am an alcoholic, and we are continuing with our Big Book Summer Boot Camp. It's going to be an adventurous, giggly summer for sure. So we've read Bill's story, we've gotten some hope, we've learned the overall premise of what this is all about, and we started to deep dive into the steps. And so up to this point, we've covered step 1, and we're currently in step 2. And so just a quick recap for those who maybe are just joining us and haven't been here before, or those who are doing this for the first time. So for step 1, we learned about alcoholism is. We have to know what we're dealing with. We have to understand what this is all about. So for the basics of it, well, we have the malady of the mind and the allergy of the body. It's a twofold disease which centers in the mind and the body. And what happens is we start to drink. And when we start to drink, we can't control how much we drink. We say, I'm only going to have 1 vodka cranberry on a Friday night, and we end up drinking 4 bottles of wine and 20 shots of tequila, and we're dancing on the bar at the bar with our skirt around our waist, and the fan is banging us in the head. True story, actually. The Roxy nightclub has a fan, and I have been hit in the head with it when I was dancing on the bar, drinking shots of tequila. But I only intended on having 1 drink. And I only went out with $5 because I was only going to have 1 drink. But, I got 2 tickets and an all-access pass, and I work my magic, and I get drinks all night. And I'm drunk as a skunk, and I end up places I don't mean to end up, and I don't keep my commitments. I've told my babysitter I'm going to be home by 1 o'clock, but I'm closing out the bar, and, closing out the bar after the bar is already closed and the lights are on, and it's just the staff counting their tills. I'm still there. And my babysitter's wondering where I am. And then, of course, everybody comes back to my house. Shh, don't wake up the baby. We are going to keep drinking till 6 in the morning. And then maybe I'll get an hour and a half of sleep before I have to get up and go to work. Right? Like, I don't care about the consequences. And it sets the ball rolling. And then what happens? I say to myself, I'm never, ever, 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 ever going to do that again. How am I never, ever going to do that? Well, this time I'm going to remember to eat dinner first, because it was the empty stomach that did it to me. Yep, every time. Or, I'm going to not drink those sugary drinks because it's all that sugar. That's what gives me the headache. It's not the 20 shots of tequila. It's those sugary drinks I had to start the night. I'm going to cut those out. I come up with different plans. I'm going to drink water in between each drink. That works great till you get drunk and you forget to drink the water, right? Or you don't like the taste of water, so you don't bother anyways, right? We have different plans. I'm only bringing $5 to the bar. I just have a 20 tucked in my bra for the cab ride home, right? We're planning different ways where we're going to control it and do it differently. Or we just don't think at all. We're just minding our day, having lunch with a girlfriend, absolutely no intention of drinking. And then we've, biffed the afternoon, not picked up our kids from school, and are enjoying ourselves on the patio. Another true story. And so this is where we have the allergy of the body and the malady of the mind. The allergy is once we start drinking, we can't control how much we take. And when we try to stop, we can't stop our own accord, and we drink without any reason, and we forget all of the pain and suffering of the times before. That sounds somewhat familiar to you, or you can relate in any way. You're probably an alcoholic, right? And there's various degrees of alcoholism, and it can get worse at, the flip of a switch, or you might be that person that can drink moderately, but when you do drink, you binge. We have alcoholics of that class. They don't drink every day. I was never an everyday drinker. I was never a morning waking up drinker, right? Because I wasn't an alcoholic. I'm not like you. I don't drink in the morning. It doesn't matter the time of day or the way we drink. It's how we drink, how it affects us. How we say we're going to stop and we don't. And everything else that comes along too. So if that sounds like you, great news. You're an alcoholic. You're in the right room. So what do? Well, we need a solution. And in the book, when we read Bill's story, it tells us a bunch of solutions that Bill tried. Bill tried self-will. And that sounds like, I'm never going to do it again. I'm going to read these self-help books. I'm going to go to church. I'm not going to date those type of people. I'm not going to hang out with those type of girls. I'm not going to go to those type of places. Self-will. It's trying to control it on myself. It doesn't work. So then we might try self-knowledge. Right? Self-knowledge is knowing my inner triggers and avoiding them. Knowing that I have a little bit of a tendency to abuse alcohol, so trying to control it. Or, abstaining based on self-knowledge. Okay, well, yeah, you guys made a lot of sense in that AA meeting, so I'm going to try to apply that. And yeah, I learned these things in treatment, or my therapist told me this stuff, so I've got some tools, and I'm just going to do it on my own. I'm good. Thank you very much. Self-knowledge avails us nothing. And then sometimes we try fear, and it is usually a sliding scale. We usually start with self-will, go to self-knowledge, and end with fear. It does usually happen in that order, and it gets progressive as we go down the order, and that's why fear is the last one we try, and that's because now we're in a position where we're in a fear of losing things. I'm losing my reputation. I'm losing my position. I'm losing my employment. I'm losing my friends. I'm losing my relationship. I'm losing my children. I'm losing my money. And my favorite, I'm losing my mind. Fear, right? Fear gets us. But what happens? Works for a little bit. You hear it at meetings all the time. Oh, I got a DUI, and the judge threatened to throw me in jail if I didn't go to AA, and my employer's going to fire me, my wife's going to kick me out, so I got to get sober. Doing my 90 meetings in 90 days. Can you sign my court card? Right? Fear. Fear's the reason they're here. Does that mean they can't get sober on that? No, because what can happen is they can hear hope. And then what does the hope do? The hope gives us the willingness. Step 2 is a willingness step. And what are they willing to do? Well, 2 things. They're willing to believe that it will work for them. How? Well, because you've seen it work for me, and you're convinced that it worked for me, so maybe it will work for you. And then you hear me say, what has worked for me is finding a power greater than myself. And they say, okay, I guess I'm willing to try that. That's all step 2 is. I say this works. I say I have a power greater than myself, and I'm sober. And you go, all right, you look like you kind of got your shit together. Yeah, you sound like you haven't had a drink in 5 years, almost. 50 days, 49 more days. Well, okay. And you make it sound like I can possibly do it. So I'm willing to believe that this can happen. Right? I'm willing to believe in something. I don't know what it is yet. Just that something is good enough. It doesn't even have to be a power greater than yourself. And that's where we're at today. We're going to break it down just a little bit more. We are on page 45. So when we finished last time, we were talking about the powers. That lack of power, the needed power, and we had to find a power. And all those powers were baby powers. They had little p's. Why? Because it's driven by me. I am seeking power. How can I seek power? I can seek power by reading a Tony Robbins book. I can seek power by writing a list, to-dos. These are the things I'm going to do, and these are the things I'm not going to do. That's me trying to use my power. So I'm trying to use something within myself to power the boat. But it's not enough. So what do we shift to? It had to be a power greater than ourselves. That has a capital P. Good news for those who don't like the God word. Capital P means person, place, or thing. If you don't like the person being power God, use a thing being power. Outside of myself, power cord, power grid, hydroelectric dam. I've yet to hear someone make a hydroelectric dam their higher power, but damn, that'd be a good one. See how I did that one there? Right? You build up any sort of power you want, and you're going to tap into it. Water. Water is so huge for me. It's such a powerful force. I have a girl, and for 2 years, she's been drunk in meetings. Every meeting she goes to, she's drunk. People are like, why do you still keep working with her? It's like, because she gets something out of it every time. In the car ride home, she's listened, and she gets something out of it every time. She called me the other day. She's got 6 months sober. She messaged me right before this meeting. Hey, you got time later to go for a walk? Yeah. When I told her when she won't use the God word, she actually clenches her fists. I said, use water. Use a running stream as your power. And take a leaf off that tree and let it float down into that water. And put your problem on that leaf and let it float down that water. It's turning it over. Whatever you can get to visualize not being in charge and letting something else direct you. So how do we find this power with a capital P? Well, guess what? That's exactly what this book is about. This is a book with instructions on how to connect to God. You don't hear much about alcohol after this point. You don't hear much about it at all after this page. This book's main object is to connect you to a power greater than yourself. That's the purpose of this book. That's what it's for. It's not for solving your alcohol issue. It's for connecting you to power, because the lack of power is your problem. And it says its main object is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem. It's a self-help book. It's not a book about booze. It's a book about power. Shifting the power from me to an outer source. Who thought this book was about booze? Who thought this book was about quitting drinking? This book is about connecting to power. God. Crazy. So, and of course, difficulty arises with atheists. And we're on page 45. Did I even say that? Did anybody figure that out? I'm still on the big fish. Tell you after if you missed it. So here difficulty arises with agnostics because we are going to talk about God. We had a really interesting conversation about this yesterday in the co-ed big book study. And about different versions or variations, your own conception. And someone said, well, you get to choose your own God. No, you don't get to choose your own God. There's one God. You get to choose your relationship with him. You get to choose what it looks like. You get to choose how it happens. And it was brought up to liken it like the imaginary stick man named Bob. Right? If we have an imaginary stick man named Bob, Bob could be my boyfriend. He could also be your brother. He could be someone else's uncle. He could be someone else's father. He could be someone else's son. He could be someone else's best friend. He could be someone else's boss. He could be someone else's sidekick. He could be a lot of things. But there's one of him. That's the same thing with God. There's one God. There's one power. We get to all have a different relationship with it. So I call God God. Joyce from down the road, she calls him Big Boy, right? Lydia, she calls it her creator. Some people call it a universal power. Some people call it Mother Nature. Some people don't give it any name. Some people use a doorknob. Some people do whatever some people want to do. It's like it's a big power grid, right? You work for the electric company and there's a big power grid. We all get to choose what color cord we plug in with. Mine, like I say every time, is going to be long, pink, and sparkly. Deanna's might be pink to match her purse, right? Patricia's might be blue to match her shirt. Brooke might get a black one. Someone else might like a leather one. Who knows? It doesn't matter. Some people's their cords are short. Some are long, right? Some people, it's frayed and it's falling apart. But we all get to choose what color cord we plug into that power grid with. We just have to be willing to try to connect, right? Think of your phone. So I have a charger beside my bed. I have a charger here in my office. I have a charger in my car. I have a portable charger for when I go hiking. Why? Because I need power. So think of it, if you're not plugging in, how much power are you going to have? I like to stay connected all the time. Usually, even if I'm sitting here, I'll have my phone plugged in, just out of habit. In my car, I plug it in pretty much when I get in. So how much do you want to be connected to your power? Does your phone work when the power gets low? Nope. If you only plugged it in once a week, how's the battery life going to be? Probably not so good. So just if we imagine power, like there's so many examples of power that we can grab onto. And then we talk about agnostics and atheists. Well, we're going to get more into that when we get to step 3, but it's not a big deal. And if we want to know why, and it talks all about prejudices, I just go to page 46, halfway down the page on 46, where it says, it was impossible for any of us to fully define or comprehend that power, which is God. I don't care what your power is. I don't care what you call it. I know it's God. I said this last night too. So I have a friend who's an atheist, and he has this weird philosophy about his higher power. It's a power. I'm like, sure. In my head, I'm like, that's gone. He can call himself an atheist all he wants, but what he's describing to me is God. He just doesn't use the same terms as I do. Am I ever going to tell him that? No. Do I smile to myself knowing that? Yeah. What his power is God. It says so right on page 46. But he has this power, and it works for him. And he doesn't have to use the God word. And in my head, when he describes it, do I get upset at the fact? No. Do I correct him? No. I just smile knowing that what he's describing to me is God. And that's okay. All right. So now we're at that point where we're going to start to have to make a decision. But first, we're going to open it up for conversation. Anybody's got anything to add about being willing to believe? Because I know probably of the 37 of you, 30 of you didn't like the God word when you got here. Pretty accurate guess, I bet. Anybody have any experience on not liking the God word and coming to accept a higher power? Anybody want to go? Ruth, go ahead.
I do. I'll share.
Go.
Thank you. Again, Ruth from a very, very hot San Antonio, so you guys tease me with all your hoodies and junk you've got on. And we're asked to leave our AC at 78. No, I have no problem with the God thing, but the rumors that I'd always heard about AAI, it's a cult, it's this, it's that. I'm actually known for saying that God works for me in strange ways, and he always has. My kids wish they had $1 for every time I said that. I'm more like to feel it in this really as a higher power or my God as a boomerang. I haven't let go of everything, but I feel like in the letting go process, no matter how I do it, like now, it's throwing it out there, whether in my mind or whether sharing, to see what comes back at me. So I'm putting it out there, and I'm putting it out there to my higher power. People are listening and giving me great input back. and the boomerang comes back to God helps those who help themselves. That's kind of how I'm taking it. And again, I've only got not even 4 months with this desire to lead the red wine monster out the front door.
Thank you so much. Della.
Unmute. There we go. So it wasn't that I needed to be willing. It was just that the God that I grew up with and the God that my mom has is completely different than my higher power. And I had to be willing to be okay with that. And so when we talk about religion, she's very doctrine and she's very on the religious side, whereas I try to explain to her that I'm very spiritual and I have my own higher power. And so that was my only real struggle. And now we've come to a compromise, and when she used to say, oh, well, God told me, and I'm like, oh boy, do we have to go to the hospital because God's talking to you? I used to get kind of creeped out, but at the same time, that's when I am at my most peaceful, is when I get to listen to God. And so it was just an understanding for me that, yeah, everybody's higher power is personal to them. And so, yeah, that's all I got. Thanks, Kim.
Thanks, Stella. Why do I have weird? There we go. Okay. Hang on. There's weird things happening. Deanna. Technology loves me.
Hi, I'm Deanna. I'm an alcoholic. Problem with the power grid, Kim? My journey around step 2 has really kind of has been a very interesting one. Growing up Catholic and always believing in something, but not really having that kind of relationship where, I've heard people say this many times, is my God, I believe, but he is a punishing God. And, I relate to that very much. And part of that in doing my steps is me understanding that coming to believe in a power greater than myself was not a problem. Coming to believe in a power greater than myself that was worthy of me having, that I was worthy of having. That was where my problem was, is I believed there was a God, but I didn't believe that I was worthy of getting the gifts from God, if that makes sense. And that's where my came to believe had to come into, that kind of relationship shifting and changing into something. And it really had to do with my self-worth. I really didn't believe I was worthy of having something like that. And the program really helped me with that part, that needed shift. And so it's all about step 2 is about hope. And that was giving me now hope that I was worthy. And, and I need to have that. The program teaches me that I need to have that, because of the insanity part, right? The insanity part. I don't want to drink. I don't want to do things that I have to come to believe in this power that will help restore me from thinking it's a good idea to kill myself with food. And that is the part where, I don't know if that makes sense to you guys. That was the shift I needed to make. So thank you.
Thank you, Deanna. Yvette, hello.
Yvette Alcoholic. Hi, Kim.
Hi.
Hello, everybody. Yay. Yes. We celebrate life over death. Anyway, I've heard so many good things. Oh my gosh. From step 2, and we came to believe, and I'm so grateful that there was some wiggle room there. I mean, now, it's ever evolving, and I've kind of gone full circle, but I remember being so angry at God, man, the world, God, right? And I was like, and I too, the punishing thing, and it's so crazy how we get. I'm like, God won't find me in Las Vegas with the bottle of Jack hidden in my hotel. I was running from myself and everything. And slowly on a slow death or a quick death and no hope. So step 2, 1, 2, and 3, honest, open, and willing. Step 2 gives us hope, and the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over, expecting different results. And, just getting there. My sponsor said, just believe that I believe, just believe that we believe. GOD, group of drunks, and then she said, go to the meeting, bring up the topic, and I'd ask everyone how they were doing step 2 and 3. And then also, and then, like I said, it evolved, and it's a personal thing. And I love that. I too, Kim, I think mine's pink and sparkly and long, and I love that. I love those analogies. It's just, I'm a visual person, and it just all makes sense. It didn't at the beginning, but I just appreciate the love. Like, let us love you till you can love yourself type of thing. And KISS, keep it simple, sweetheart, because I just was so broken and lost. And it was just so nice to be like, okay, that's okay. Go to the ocean. It's bigger than you. And cry. That's what I and that was my higher power. Hummingbirds were my higher, just nature. And so it's ever evolving. It's a personal journey, but yes, it's life and death. And if you don't have a God, better get one. You don't have a sponsor, better get one type of thing. So just love this meeting. I love that I found the connection still. It's like a godsend, just the whole, anyway, I could go on and on. I love you guys. I love Kim. And I could just, it's just, we have our own lingo, language of the heart. I would have missed it. Like Clancy said, seconds and inches, and wow, right? We're the lucky ones, the blessed ones, and the lost ones, some of the sickest ones of us, anyway, it's just a magical gift. Thank you. Love you guys.
Thanks, Yvette. I think Priv loved your new version of KISS. Keep it simple, sweetheart. Because for the rest of us, we know that one as keep it simple, stupid. Mm-hmm. But we'll take sweetheart. Sue, go ahead.
Suzanne, alcoholic. God, good orderly direction. I remember when I came into the program, and I was very angry with God at the time. But of course, I was angry at everybody. I was angry with myself. And I was raised Catholic, and I really hadn't followed. I wasn't a practicing Catholic for years prior to coming into the program. And when I first came into the program, I attended a women's meeting. In fact, I still attend that meeting today, a big book meeting. And I saw the love of God through the women in the program who had also said to me, let us love you until you can love yourself. And actually, they kind of took me under their wing. I did have a sponsor, but it seemed everybody in that group took me under their wing and tried to and help me as much as they possibly could. But today, my idea of God is love, compassion, and kindness, and but I believe in a universal spirit, and I believe that spirit is in everyone, and it's everywhere. And I also find God in nature, and if you look into the eyes of a newborn baby, you'll see that baby is born in bliss. And it's just so beautiful. And I feel comfortable with my God today. And I can talk to my God. And my God understands me. And my God doesn't judge me. And, because I'm not perfect. And I do make mistakes from time to time. And but I know that God loves me and God accepts me for who I am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sue. Absolutely. God has a sense of humor. He's funny. He loves playing pranks on me because that's the relationship I have with God. Remember my whole lotto story? How we were all praying and my whole little ladies group, we were praying, and it's if we win the lotto, Kim's gonna open a treatment center, and I won a free ticket. Well, now I just won $106. Like it's these little small inside jokes with God, and people are like, that's not God. I'm like, yeah, it is. I totally it is. He's funny like that. Awesome, Abby.
Hi, I'm Abby, alcoholic. So I'm on day number 6 today, and what I'm getting out of everybody's shares is hope, happy. What is it? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hearing other people's experiences, and to me, that's what I need to keep on doing. I keep on needing to come to meetings, to stay sober, to get another day, to get another minute. And when I'm feeling low or wanting or needing or thinking that I need in my head, I reach out to the ladies in the program. I go to a meeting. I can Zoom now. Technology is awesome. And for that, I keep on coming back. So thanks for letting me share.
Thank you so much. Keep coming to this ladies group. It will help you so much. You want to go from 6 days to 106 days. Stick with us over the summer because we're boot camping and you will get a great base. I think Marianne was next. She looks like she's camping in a cabin.
Hi, friends. I am an alcoholic from Toronto. My name's Marianne. Grateful to be here. Grateful to be sober. So glad I got back on because I've got really spotty internet. And I'm really excited to share because this is a huge paragraph for me. As soon as we were able to lay aside prejudice and express even a willingness to believe in a power greater than myself. As far back as I can remember, even as a child, I was taken to Sunday school and I worked really hard. I really wanted to connect to what they were trying to teach me, and I couldn't. And I had a father who was a very spiritual man, and I lost him over 26 years ago. And he used to help me. And I remember thinking, I don't get it, Dad. Like, I don't get it. And after I did this process and lived this way of life, I can now look back at what he used to tell me and go, ooh, I get it. That's what you were trying to teach me. And that's really powerful because I always wanted it and I worked real hard for it. But I just had to lay back what he wanted, what I thought even, because he was spiritual, he wasn't religious, what I thought he was telling me. Lay that back and just seek something in that could help me connect. And it worked. I started to get results. Really powerful stuff. And yes, I'm up in a cabin with my daughter and granddaughter in a really peaceful setting. And it has just been bliss. So I'm so grateful to be here with you ladies today and just share that because this is a huge moment for me. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you so much. And your internet was perfect. Your whole share. That's God. Oh, I love it. All right. So yeah, continuing on this step 2 theme. And for those that are joining us, right? Like we are doing these steps as we go along. So when we said we're covering step 1, we hope you've got the firm conclusion that you're an alcoholic. We hope that you concede to your innermost self that you have the allergy and the malady of the mind and that you can't safely drink again. And so we need to apply a solution. So if you're here in this group and you haven't made that, I hate using this word, but for lack of better words, check mark beside step 1 that you concede that you're an alcoholic, we need you to tell us and talk to some of us so that we can keep you going. Because to do each step as we go isn't going to work if you haven't fully understood the one we've just finished. So like right now we're on step 2. I want to make sure that everybody here has that step 1 where they're like, yup, I'm an alcoholic. I can completely agree with what you're saying. I understand what you mean when you say that when you start drinking, you can't control how much you drink. I've gone out to have one glass of wine and I end up drinking 10 bottles, right? Or that you understand that feeling of saying, I'm going to stop drinking today. And then all of a sudden you're drinking at 4 p.m. and you don't know why. And you're like, I said I wasn't going to drink today. Or that morning when you say, I'm never, ever, ever, ever going to do that again. I embarrassed myself last night again, and I spent all my money again. And I said I wasn't going to do that, and I said I wasn't going to do those things, and I did it again. If that sounds like you, then like Della in her teal hat, you are probably an alcoholic. If you wear teal hats like that in public, you're probably an alcoholic. No one else does that shit. Sorry. No offense to those who love teal floppy hats. Della knows where to find me to smack me. So we want to make sure that you are actually on board when we move on each step. So if you are still like not sure if you're an alcoholic, or if you're sitting here and you have some of those lurking reservations, like, well, maybe if I just come to AA for 90 days, maybe all my problems will go away and then I can drink safely again. Like, we don't teach you how to safely drink here. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm going to save you the horror of sitting with us all summer. We're not going to be able to teach you how to drink properly here because none of us fucking know how. But if you're here and you want to stop drinking, like, we know how to do that. And so I just want to make sure everybody's on that same page. And that's step one. Yeah, you're an alcoholic. And if you are, that's great. Welcome aboard. Della's got a green hat for you. She'll mail it to you. She's not in a car anymore. She can't hear me. Okay, so let's talk more about step two now that I've said that I want to make sure everybody's done step one. So we're going to go to page 47, and we're going to just read 2 quick paragraphs. It says, when, therefore, we speak to you of God, we mean your own conception of God, not your own God. You don't get your own God, because God knows we'll make that me. If I get my own God, it's going to be my God that I create, and it's going to be self-serving. So you get your own conception of God. Like I said earlier, choose your own adventure. Mine's a trucker. He cusses at me and bosses me around. Other people have more loving and huggy and soft and cushy gods. My God knows that I will walk all over that shit. So he's a trucker. So you get your own conception. This applies too to other spiritual expressions which you find in this book. Do not let any prejudice you may have against spiritual terms deter you from honestly asking yourself what they mean to you. This is why there's 37 of us here. If I have a term that works for me, it might cause a certain in you. And as a result, someone else in this room might have a different experience. That's why we love opening it up for sharing. Not enough people share. If something makes you go, I don't like that, or I don't understand that, let us know. I usually have a weird, quirky picture word phrase for it, which people like to call metaphors, but I call them picture phrases, to explain it. Someone probably has a real life experience with it. A lot of this stuff sounds really hokey pokey, mystical, but there is practical explanations for it, right? Like telling someone to let it go, like let go and let God. People don't know how to do that. That's why I hate phrases like that. Turn it over. What? I can't. Put it in a box and put it on a shelf. My head doesn't let me do that to feelings. So I need practical examples. That's why we don't want you to be prejudiced against spiritual terms. We want you to speak up. That's why this Zoom has a raise hand function. Specifically, God created the raise hand function for this meeting so you can ask a question. So if something doesn't make sense, we want you to ask it. Ruth, go ahead.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm having a real challenge with that, and it might have been 2 weeks ago. Acceptance and family. I don't remember exactly. I'm having a real hard time letting go, and I think it does have me stopped. And I'm actually going to be away this week with some family in Mexico that I haven't been able to see. I have felt guilty about being diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, and I'll be a little specific. 4 deaths have fallen in my arms, to include, and I mean in my arms, to include most recently a best friend who I went to help. Didn't expect her to die, expected to help her clean her house, ex-sister-in-law, my mother and father, and my grandmother who came to my wedding and died. I always said it was a blessing, but it caught up with me after getting surprisingly attacked by my very alcoholic husband of 35 years. He attacked me in a drunken rage, and that visual. So it's the visuals. It's the visuals I cannot escape. And I come from a very military family, and I know they've witnessed things. I'm blessed that they all came home, but it's like, yeah, well, how do I let all that go? I mean, I can't. Yeah, so I'm not going to dwell on the exacts, but it's the visuals of probably these 5 things. There are other things, but it's the real visuals that keep coming back. And I will say, in my quiet moments, in the last 6 years when my drinking got really bad, that did lead me to, get finally a DWI, that I decided, I've got a real problem. That had me looking at this and let it go, forgive and forget. I'm having a real hard time with that. And now I'm angry at 4 dead people.
Only 4? Come on. Well, good thing we're going to do step 4 soon. No, I'm really glad you're in this group because we have some really great experience, and I have experience with that, and I get it. People would say that to me. Oh, take it and put it in a box and put it on a shelf. And I'm like, that doesn't fucking work, right? But the amazing thing about this program, and especially this group of women and how we've done it and my personal experience, is that, yeah, I can't forget it. I can't turn it over. I can't get rid of it. But I can go through. What's that thing? You can't go under it. You can't go around it. You can't go over it. You gotta go through it. And so here we get to go through it. And in our step 4, we get to look at each situation and we get to see it from a different angle. Then in step 6 and 7, we get to pray away all of that feeling. There's fear, there's anger, there's feeling. And we get to pray that away. And then what do we get to do? We get to seek outside help. I can only deal with the feelings. I can't deal with the flashbacks. I can't deal with the visual images in my head. I can deal with my feelings. And then I can get the courage to go process the rest. Myself, I've done NLP. And Ruth, I think you might want to look into NLP. It's neuro-linguistic programming. And for me, that went back and it clipped the timeline for those memories, so they don't come up as much. And it's just brainwave shit. I don't know how to explain it better than that. It's kind of like hypnosis, but it's not. And these are things we're able to do. For me, going to a therapist doesn't work. Deanna might like therapists. Patricia might like psychiatrists. Tammy might like holistic healers. That's not my jam. That's why it's amazing we have 36 people here that all do different things and can tell you what works for them. Me talking about shit with a therapist, that doesn't do anything for me. The neuro-linguistic programming hypno thing, that fixed my brain. It made the thoughts not be in my front. It just did whatever it did. It resolved them. So we each get to explore those add-ons to AA. But AA helps us deal with the fear. It helps us deal with the anger. It helps us deal with the emotions because we don't deal with it. What do? We drink. Right? That's our solution. I'm going to drink. I'm angry. I'm going to drink. I got to answer this really quick. Deanna, can you share for a sec? This might be my vaccine appointment. Mute me.
I'm still Deanna, and I'm still an alcoholic.
Hello?
To working the fourth step and, really, kind of coming to that conclusion of what was going on and bringing that to my therapist. And I see a therapist that actually sees therapists because she knows when I'm bullshitting her about stuff, so which is nice. And she is very into the 12-step stuff too. She's, so she understands. So we use that as she's the additive to my AA program. And so, AA doesn't solve every mental problem. So, that's why the book talks about, we do sometimes need outside help. And outside help can be a lot of different things for us, kind of like Kimberly said, because not everyone will jive with the same thing. You got to find what your jam is, basically, and so, and sometimes that takes a little work, because sometimes one thing might happen, because Kim may have gone to a therapist and said, this isn't working for me. Now, if she would have given up after that, then, so we have to stay open. It's that no contempt before investigation thing, and so we have to kind of keep looking for, because I'm worth being helped today. And so I keep searching for, what's going to add to my AA program.
Absolutely. And you want to know how I got into the NLP? Tell you a funny story. So I was doing a health and wellness business, and I had to be at a booth at an event. And as part of being at this booth at an event, I got to sit and listen to all 7 speakers. And I was sitting and listening to all the speakers. And then at the end, they were giving away prizes. And one of the ladies that was giving away a prize basket was this NLP practitioner. And I'm sitting there, and she's describing what she does and what she's giving away. And I said out loud, in my quiet voice, oh my God, I need that. And they pulled my name out of the basket and I won it. That's God. That was at 18 months sober. And guess what month it was? October 2018. The same month I did this set of steps, the same month my husband died. Like, God shoved that. I'm getting goosebumps because these are the puzzle pieces of my life, right? And I just sat there and I'm like, I need that. God was like, yeah, you do. And my name got drawn out. And I'm like, oh my God. And literally, it was the 2 weeks that I did this set of steps. And I'm like, mind blown, right? So be open to things. Like, look for opportunities. You never know, right? Like, weird shit happens and it's God. He's funky like that. Marianne.
So our book tells us many of us have severe emotional and mental disorders, but many of us do recover if we have the capacity to be honest. Once I realized and was honest and shared that there's a big problem up here, I was led to outside help. And I didn't even ask for it. I mean, I was carried to it. And that, in conjunction with doing these steps on a daily basis and maintaining my spiritual growth, has released me from a lot of the trauma that I have had to live through in my life. But I am the one who had severe emotional and mental disorders. But most of all of us have the capacity to recover if we have the capacity to be honest. That's a powerful statement.
Absolutely. And you guys have heard me if you've been here before when I've said those people who think that they're constitutionally incapable of being honest, they are just not willing to be honest. Because if you can get up and wipe your own ass and not be in a diaper, you have the capacity to be honest. Like, there's certain people, they have wet brain, they have severe chemical imbalances that are preventing them from being honest. But the people that stand up in a meeting of AA and they go, I think I'm the guy who's constitutionally incapable. I'm like, no, you're just a douchebag who won't be honest. Like, Deanna almost spat out her food. But it's true. And you know the type that says it, right? I'm the guy who's constitutionally incapable of being honest. I'm like, no, you just got a huge ego. We're going to smash it. Come on over. Because they're just not willing to be honest. And they use that line as an excuse. But that's actually referring to people who do have wet brain or who have serious chemical imbalances. And even those with serious chemical imbalances can be honest. They can be honest with their psychiatrist. They can be honest with their doctor who can get them on honest medication that they can honestly take, which gives them the ability to be honest, right? And that's the difference. Joe Blow with steroids and tattoos that says he's constitutionally incapable. He's just not willing. And we pray for him. And I usually used to date them, but not anymore. Now I go for the guys with the big fish. You guys missed it before. Anyways, middle of 47. This is your meditation for homework. We need to ask ourselves but one short question. Do I now believe, or am I even willing to believe, that there is a power greater than myself? And that can include, are you willing to believe it because you see it working in me? Are you willing to believe it because you see it working for Marianne? Are you willing to believe it because Beverly has had this experience? Are you willing to believe in a power? That's it. That's the question. That's your homework. And if you come back next time and say yes, then we will empathetically say you are on your way. All right, let's close up with the Serenity Prayer.